Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to my channel, JPM.Cuisine. Today for you, we're going to be checking out the Renaissance 7-inch Santoku with the Granton edge. Last week, we looked at a couple of knives. We looked at the Renaissance and Genesis versions of the Nakiri by Mercer Culinary. And just to keep it simple, I'm just going to look at one of the lines today versus looking at them in side by side, just so you guys can see. So this is a 7-inch Renaissance Santoku. It's a high carbon X50 CRMOV15 German steel. Another one without a rounded spine on it. So if you want a rounded spine, the MX3 line is definitely the way to go. That's going to have a rounded spine on every single one of them, whereas the Renaissance line so far, I think it's just the chef's knives that I've experienced having a rounded spine. Alright, so let's go ahead and get some weight. We'll go old school on this. Let's see. There you go, in grams. We're looking at 217 grams. Alright, move that out of the way. Let's check out the balance. Again, the Nakiri, the balance was right on the bolster itself. And I think we're even a little bit further back, maybe even a little bit further back. So this Santoku, definitely handle heavy from just that line where the bolster meets the Delrin style handle is where it feels like it's the balance is definitely at. Yeah, so with the Nakiri on the Genesis, we were looking at it right at the choil or the heel. On the Renaissance Nakiri, we're looking at it right on the bolster, and this one's just a little bit scaled back. So there we go. Very thick handle, comfortable. This is the traditional Western style handle. This is a Delrin with the 3 rivets. Gorgeous finish on the knife. I love the scallops. I may have made some comment about it in the past, but definitely I love the length of the scallops on these knives. That's one of the things that when I was comparing the Mac chef knife to the Renaissance chef knife, the scallops themselves were a huge selling point for me over the Mac, because the Mac knife, the scallops were very shallow, much smaller, and this right here you get a lot of surface area. I think it improves the performance of the non-stick by creating those air pockets by having a little bit more material removed away. And at the prices for these knives, you can definitely afford to replace them instead of buying maybe one of those more expensive knives. Alright, so fit and finish, just like every other Renaissance. Let's just talk about that a little bit right now. One of the reasons you guys will see Mercer on my channel a lot is because the quality is consistent. Okay, these are knives that you generally find in a culinary institution setting or culinary school. Very common for this to be a beginner set or an entry-level set. Sometimes it'll even be the preferred set that you can buy when you first go into culinary school, that will have basically a kit with all the knives and the tools that you'll need either for the first semester, first year, or even through your entire years, your culinary education career, if you will. And so this is a brand I trust. I've done a lot of research recently about looking at other knives that exist on the market, and because I do reviews, I constantly get emails from companies that are sending me requests to review their knives, and when I look at them, they're very similar to other knives that are on the market, and I haven't seen very many that have either tried to copy what Mercer's doing or offer a similar style to what Mercer has in a catalog. And so things like Dowstrong, you can go on to some websites looking at Chinese manufacturers within that area, and you'll see, especially in the same province that the Dowstrong knives are being made, there are a lot of factories there, maybe the same factories, that are offering similar knives in their styles that you can go on and even buy samples of if you wanted to try to see what they were like, but very similar. So I'm kind of skeptical about some of those other brands to see if maybe they're just using those catalogs that exist and then putting their own logos on it, versus Mercer, where I feel like they've been in the business long enough where they may be setting some standards in terms of what they're designing, and it feels just like, you know, Yaxel and things of that nature, where it is I'm confident in the brand that the knives that they're making are unique to their own, where we're not seeing just a series of clones or knockoffs, or, you know, just cookie cutter. And so without any further stalling or time wasting, let's go ahead and get into some cutting here. So this is Santoku. I used to use a Santoku for quite a bit of time when I first started using knives. The Santoku was probably one of my more preferred one. The belly on this one is not flat, but it isn't as pronounced as a chef's knife. You see a little bit more pronounced towards the tip, so if you wanted to do some rocking, you could. But this is a Santoku, which is a 3 virtues, which I think is slicing, dicing, and I always get it wrong. I can never remember. We'll just cut that out. Anyway, so let's go ahead and cut into it. Oh, that's why I have 2 tomatoes. When you make a mistake, let's go ahead and do some cut test. All right, so just out of the box, factory sharpness on a tomato. Okay, so I mean, take it for what it's worth. Out of the box, factory sharpness. For anybody who is just getting into cooking, this will work. Let's go ahead and do some slicing. Push cut. Very comfortable. Even though it doesn't have that rounded spine, the spine is a little bit sharp here and here, so we'll dig into, if you're a pinch grip, you will feel some of that sharpness over time, at least with prolonged use. And that's one of the benefits of having the rounded spine, is that it just is soft. It doesn't dig into any of your skin. But man, this cuts really well. The Granton edge, and I'm biased, of course, I'm partial towards the Granton edge. It is, for these knives, it's high enough up where you're not losing so much material. I've had Frederick Dick knives where the Granton is all the way on the edge, and so it becomes a pain to sharpen. Essentially, when you buy that knife, you're going to struggle with trying to sharpen it with your conventional stones, because you're going to have raised edge and shallow divots in the knife. And so when you're working with that, those are things to be considerate or mindful of, is where the placement of the scallops are. Okay, and so, oh man, we got a lot of room. Just gonna do some dicing here, just to see, kind of like an onion test. And this is all based on the sharpness and thinness of the profile of that edge. You know, it's just gonna determine how it's going to work. So if you're making something like salsa or pico or tacos or something, you may want to be able to get a smaller dice, and it's just very comfortable because the size of the profile fits very well for that task. Okay, and Santoku knives, again, they are quite versatile, offer a lot of versatility in the kitchen. They do a lot of tasks. Essentially, they're a rival. I would consider them a rival to a Western style chef's knife. And so, if you're not sure what style of knife to get, and you're looking for an entry-level style knife, I think the Santoku would be an excellent option for anybody looking to get into cooking or wanting to upgrade their culinary equipment, their cutlery. All right, one more layer. This one is leathery. If you ever go to a restaurant and they serve you that, man, that's the worst. That is the worst. All right. Okay. And so with a Santoku, essentially it works the same as a chef's knife. If you use the tip, you can. Very sharp. Oops. Sorry for the movement. The table's a little bit less sturdy. I've raised it up so that I can actually stand and cut as opposed to sitting down and cutting like I've done in the past. But I mean, anything that you want to do with any kind of knife in terms of cutting, this works. It's a very good knife. Feels very good in my hand. Actually, I really enjoy this one. It feels very similar to the MX3, minus the rounded spine, of course. And this one has the scallops on it, so you get a little bit more, for me, I think, performance out of it because of the scallops. I think the thinness on the MX3 has this one beat, but it feels very good in the hand. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.